Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I am Prakash Zog. We've been talking of the sanskars, and today I am going to discuss one of the major sanskars known as the Upanayana. The word technically means Upanayana, that means taking to some place. In common terminology, it is also referred to as Vratabandha or Maunji Bandhan in local languages or in Sanskrit. And in English, many times the word thread ceremony is the one that is talked of when they talk of the Upanayana. The word, as I said, means taking the aspirant child to the Guru or the Acharya to begin his formal education. It's an important sanskar, and so Upanayan is being referred to in the Atharva Ved, the Chandogya Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Taittiriya Samhita, the Gopath Brahman, the Shatpat Brahman, and many other texts. In one of the Gruhya Sutras, it says it is the beginning of his brahmachari span of life. So, education and brahmachari. So, it implies both the study or Vedas or formal education and a strict code of conduct that is applied to the student. The Atharva Ved actually gives a slightly different implied meaning. The student enters the Acharya's womb by analogy, that means the Guru's womb by analogy, and then he is reborn by the power of the Gayatri mantra. Obviously, what it implies is the student becoming the core of Guru's knowledge, acquiring all that and learning the Gayatri mantra in the process and becoming a more learned person, as good as an offspring of the Guru himself. It represents a transition from ignorant to a learned. It is believed that an ignorant is not worth being born, and so this is his second birth. So he is now known as Dvija, twice born, once the Upanayan is complete. Please realize that the sanskar itself and the ritual are two separate aspects. Vratabandha, Maunji Bandhan are all parts of the ritual. This particular sanskar is done for all the three varnas, the Brahman, the Kshatriya, and the Vaishya. And it is a mandatory sanskar for all of them. If it is not done, the person is said to be a Vratya, that is, socially unfit. It is obvious then that you can realize the importance of education for all, even then. And also, Upanayan before marriage is mandatory. That also indicates that you cannot get married unless you are educated. There is, of course, a loophole, a provision to perform the Upanayan 3-4 days prior to the marriage itself. The Brahmans are supposed to have their Upanayan at the age of around 8, the Kshatriyas around 10, and the Vaishyas around the age of 12. The difference in age is more because of the amount of knowledge and study material that they are supposed to learn in their future span of studenthood. And that is why appropriately the Brahmins were given a greater amount of time to study all the Vedas, and later on for the others only the necessary parts that were essential for them. So the child is at the age of 8. In the 8th year, there is no specific muhurta, tithi or nakshatra, etc., hunting around for an auspicious day or time to conduct the particular ritual. And so these restrictions do not apply at the age of 8. Later on, of course, many major aspects must be looked into. Actually, some of the steps in the rituals today and are original have undergone change, which is a timely modification that has taken place as and how things change. I'll specify the original concept first and then also talk of the changed versions that get along. In the process, Indra and Agni, the two major gods of the first Veda, are to be invoked. Introducing the Batu or the student to the Acharya, the master, is a major step. The Guru confirms his Gotra, that is his lineage, his name, and then accepts him as his own student. He is given the Yajnopavita, the sacred thread. It is made of 9 fibers woven into 3 threads which are combined into a loop with a special knot known as the Brahmaghat. A student wears only one such sacred thread. Later on, the number would change, and I'll come to that later. The student is taught the Savitri mantra in the Gayatri Chanda. That is the way in which the words are associated, 888, making it a combination of 24 and so forth. I talked of this long back sometime. And the ritual, nowadays of course, a specific auspicious day is chosen, tithi, muhurta, nakshatra, all suitable for the child are selected, and that day is decided for the Upanayan ceremony. A home is performed, that is the fire, the ritual fire, and ahuti of ghee oblations are made. The student is suitably dressed and he is suitably shaved, retaining only shikha, the lock of hair behind. Once suitably attired, he is then referred to as the Batu, the young version of a student. And then onwards, he is supposed to have only 2 garments on his body. A suitable staff and a griddle around his waist is provided, depending upon what his varna is or what his caste is. The grass, as far as the Brahmins are concerned, is out of a particular type known as munja, and a coil of that known as the mekhala is made and put around his waist, the griddle, and this is then known as maunji bandhana, the tying of the griddle made out of the munja grass. The age, which I already mentioned, the staff that he is supposed to carry, its length, the griddle, the material of the griddle, the uttariya or the upper covering, the way in which he is to ask for alms, which is the bhiksha mantra. All these are different for the different varnas, that is different from Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. And now, once all this is over, only then would he acquire the right to study. What are the different things? Age, I already mentioned. Danda, that is staff, is made out of different type of wood. Uh, the original Sanskrit words refer to Bel, Khadir, and Audumbar for the Brahmin, Kshatriya, and the Vaishya. And then for the Brahmin, it is supposed to come up to his head, for the Kshatriya up to this point, and then for the Vaishyas, it is only up to here. So these are the staffs that are given. The griddle is made out of three different materials. One munja I told you, but murva is another, and ambadi is another one. So there are different types of griddles that are also made. And the upper covering, invariably this used to be some sort of a skin. And for the Brahmins it was Krishnajin, the black deer skin. Then for the Kshatriyas it was the Chitral type of deer, its skin was used, and a goat skin was used for the Vaishyas. So just looking at the person, the height of the staff, everything could be used to determine from which particular caste or community this particular student is from. The way in which he is supposed to ask for bhiksha, those mantras are also different for the three of them. Actually, as far as rituals are concerned, this particular step is also indicator of the end of the child's sitting on his mother's lap and eating from her plate. This last meal that is provided prior to the Upanayan is known as Matru Bhojan, the meal with the mother. And he is accompanied there with Ashtavarga, 8 Batus or 8 similar students. The concept obviously is that he should be aware of the other kids who are going to study along with him and who have just finished their Upanayan also. He is also then taught the process by which he is supposed to ask bhiksha or alms from the different houses. It begins by asking bhiksha from his mother itself, and then from all the senior members from his house. So if he is making any mistake, they can always correct him, and they are supposed to give him something, a token to tell him that yes, you have learned what you are supposed to do. It is at this time that he acquires the right to study with his guru. Ideally, he is supposed to stay at his guru's place. This is known as Guru Gruha Vas. He is supposed to perform the Gayatri Jap, that is the Gayatri mantra is to be recited by him in a specific sequence, in a specific time span of the day, and a specific number of times. This is also known as, referred to as the Trikala Sandhya Vandan. Then he cannot expect his guru to feed all the students. He won't have all that money. So he is expected to go to the social network, which is the village or the town close to the guru's residence, and ask for bhiksha, that is alms, to feed the child. And this bhiksharjan is something that he has to learn and is mandatory for all his student years till he finishes his education. It's a difficult life and not very suitable for the girls, and so gradually it becomes practically difficult for girls to, biological reasons, harsh student life, early marriages, all these resulted in girls not getting or going through their Upanayana sanskar. And so it was restricted many a times only to the boys. And then again, as the pattern of studies got modified in much later spans now, this particular sanskar, Upanayan sanskar, remained only for the Brahmin kids, because they were the ones who would gradually move on to study the Vedas, go to the gurus, or what is typically referred to as a Gurukul, and study Vedas in a specific manner there. This then is what Upanayan is. Not just taking the child to the Guru, but performing a sanskar on the child, imbibing certain values and virtues in him, reminding him of his transition, socially being made aware that he is now to move from a childhood to a studenthood into the brahmacharya ashram, to behave like a brahma. Charya is to dinacharya, etc. All these refer to brahmacharya. So he has to behave in a particular manner, certain restrictions, and all this is associated with this transition point, which is the Upanayan. If you have liked whatever I have mentioned, please tell it to your friends also. Let them also know of the background of what Upanayan is. Do look up some other texts and try and find out if you can know additional information regarding Upanayan. Let me also tell you that all these rituals have different patterns: North India, Central India, South India, and so forth. So depending upon your region, try and find out how these differences work out. Like and subscribe to this channel, and then next time we'll move into the major step of the Grihasthashram, which is to talk of the importance, significance, and the great sanskar of marriage. Till we meet again 15 days from now. Namaskar.